For 16 harrowing seconds during the gunfire, time stopped as this vicious monster unleashed pure evil from his sniper's perch, not so far away. We got hit with COVID, a gift from China. Some people would call it the China virus. And we did a great job on that, too. We did a great job, but the world was disturbed. $60 trillion in damage worldwide.
Tonight, Donald Trump returned to Butler, Pennsylvania for a rally at the same site of the first attempted assassination on his life. And Donald Trump wanted to speak solely on one thing, the thing that he said he would never talk about again. And of course, that was the attempted assassination on his life. Now, of course, we can say the events of that day were wrong and always condemn political violence. But we can also speak the truth on this issue and say the only reason Donald Trump is holding this rally, the only reason he is talking about that day is because he knows he is behind in this race. He knows he's losing to VP Harris and knows that there's no amount of messaging or policy or substance he could put forth because he has none that would close that gap. And so he's trying to squeeze every single political point out of that day that he possibly can, especially in the important swing state of Pennsylvania. And so that's why Donald Trump is talking about the attempted assassination again, because it is the only thing he thinks can help him win. But of course, he couldn't just stay on this topic. The rallies, as always, with Donald Trump get derang, get crazy, get out of control so incredibly fast. And that is exactly what happened tonight. The rally actually had to be stopped because of something that happened. But we will get into that in just a little bit. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way in supporting what we're doing here. Now, let's get into this first clip.
We have a lot of them. Over the past 8 years, those who want to stop us from achieving this future have slandered me, impeached me, indicted me, tried to throw me off the ballot, and who knows, maybe even tried to kill me,
says Donald Trump, in the same way that we saw Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday say that they control the weather. Now, of course, they're both trying to imply that it's Democrats who are coming after Republicans, not just who run for office, but also in states that were affected by Hurricane Helen. It's absolute crazed conspiracy from Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the rest of MAGA, but it is, of course, our expectation of them. But that doesn't mean, of course, we shouldn't call it out. We are going to, and we need to continue to call out all the other ridiculous things they say, like what Donald Trump said right here.
For 16 harrowing seconds during the gunfire, time stopped as this vicious monster unleashed pure evil from his sniper's perch, not so far away. But by the hand of Providence and the grace of God, that villain did not succeed in his goal, did not come close.
The ways that Donald Trump talk about God are so incredibly strange. We always see him say that if Jesus was counting the votes, he'd win California, or Jesus, if he counted the votes, he'd win New York. An incredibly strange thing to say. But when he talks about God saving him, it seems more like he thinks he's God, and that's why he's saved. But it wasn't the only strange way that he talked about the attempted assassination on his life during this speech. Of course, he talked about it so much. And of course, before he said he wasn't going to. But when he was talking about the man who lost his life that day, you can just really see how strange it got. And the faces of the people behind him were also pretty confused, because it just demonstrates Donald Trump's lack of empathy or real care. But let's check out this clip.
You know, I just one little story. Helen told me that on the day that they came to the rally, Corey was really excited because somebody gave him great seats right up front here with the people from North Carolina, the ladies from North Carolina. This is their 227th rally. I don't know what's going on with them. Those beautiful ladies. But they always seem to have good seats, you know. But Corey had the best seat in the House, and he was telling his wife and family on the way over in the car, he said, "I'm telling you, he's going to invite me up on the stage," because I do that sometimes. I take people, we invite them up on the stage. And she smiled, thinking it'll never happen. And little did anyone realize that Corey would be on the stage 3 months later in an almost immortal position. And that's where he is today. He's on the stage in a, I think it's a truly immortal position. So the love that
A man who supported Donald Trump died, and he doesn't really seem to care. He died at his rally, and he doesn't really seem to care. I remember the image of Trump hugging his firefighter gear during the RNC, but it just seemed like a stunt, which of course is what this is and continues to be throughout his entire campaign. But it really just shows the empathy that he lacks, and his crowd doesn't really seem that into it either, and they didn't as well in this clip right here.
So 12 weeks ago, we all took a bullet for America, and all we are all asking is that everyone goes out and votes. We got to win. We can't let this happen to our country. We can't take another 4 years like this. We won't have a country left. We're not going to have a country left.
It's really funny to me. We've been talking so much about how Trump doesn't think he can win this election with votes and is always telling people they don't have to vote. They can win without the votes. That's what he really wants to do. Isn't win with votes, is when by stealing votes, interfering with the votes of you and I, that's what Donald Trump really wants to do. But when he tells his crowd to vote, they're just kind of silent and bored. They're like, no, we want the attacks on democracy. We want the angry rhetoric, which we saw more of right here.
All over the world, in Africa, the Congo, a lot of people coming out of the Congo in Africa. They're coming out from Asia. They're coming out from the Middle East, Yemen. They're coming out from Yemen. A lot of people coming out of Yemen. And they're known terrorists, and they just release them into our country from countries unknown also. They know nothing about the people. Oh, go right in.
I always like to do the little bit of Trump psychology when we cannot, to sandwash, not to explain, but to point out his stupidity. And when he says they're coming from the Congo, they're coming from Yemen, they're coming from countries unknown, which I don't know. What Countess Unknown means there's only about 200 of them. I feel like we know what the countries are. But what it does show us is Donald Trump doesn't know that these countries exist, that he probably just learned about the Congo or Yemen countries no one's ever even heard of. He's just showing his ignorance, which is what he always does anytime that he opens his mouth. And like I said earlier, this rally continued to get weird, but there was a moment in which someone in the crowd needed medical assistance. And so Trump stopped the speech, but instead of checking in, making sure they were okay, he kind of just stood there silently and then decided to, how about you just take a look? Again, this to me is just a weird moment that shows the lack of empathy or care. Someone is dealing with a medical issue in the crowd and he's conducting the national anthem. He's getting people to S. He just doesn't really care unless it's about him. You always see when Trump brings someone up on stage, if they talk for longer than a minute, you see how angry he gets because he just needs the attention and the praise all the time, which is incredibly clear in this clip right here.
We got hit with COVID, a gift from China. Some people would call it the China virus. And we did a great job on that, too. We did a great job, but the world was disturbed. $60 trillion in damage worldwide, millions and millions of, tens of millions of people killed. And we still, during this 4-year period, we had the greatest economy, one of the great countries of the world. And we left with a stock market that was higher than it was just prior to COVID coming in. So what we did was something really incredible. But we had the greatest, most successful country ever.
Donald, you know, we remember right? You know, we remember your failures. He talks about these things like we weren't all there with him as he was failing at the job, not doing a great job as he'd like us to believe. And on the issue of health, Donald Trump continued the speech by giving one of the more strange diet tribes about his body again. Something he loves to talk about lately, and we can just take a look.
In the White House, the press, the fake news media said, who is the most? He was the doctor for Obama, Bush, and Trump. That's pretty good, right? White House doctor for the three of us. He said, the press, who is the healthiest of the three? He said, definitely it's Donald Trump. There's not even a contest. And I love that guy. When he said that, JD, when he said that, I said, I like this guy. So then
I don't know why he continues to talk about his body and his health. He said in a recent speech that if he took his shirt off, you'd see how beautiful he is. A body like you've never seen. But saying that he's a healthier president than Barack Obama was, I don't buy that. Of all the Trump lies, that might be the top of the most ridiculous. I am certainly not buying that. And of course, there were plenty of lies during the speech, and the most blatant that he continues to repeat came right here.
Now, we have so many others, and I won't do it because we have to really get out of here before it gets too cold for people. But I love it much better because there's one teleprompter. Not that I use the teleprompters too much. Isn't it nice to have a president that doesn't need a teleprompter?
I don't use a teleprompter, says the guy with two teleprompters in front of him who has been reading off of a teleprompter all night. This is Donald Trump boiled down. That is the clip that we can show if aliens ever come down and say, I need an explanation of this guy in 5 seconds. Show him that. They'd be like, oh, he's a lying buffoon, okay? Good to know, check. And then we can explain. Of course, his racism and xenophobia, misogyny as well, because that is incredibly important to this crazy buffoon. But yes, that is who Donald Trump is. And we have to continue to call him out. And we will on the show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and drop a blue heart in the comments. And speaking of the comments, I will have in the description of this video and the top comment a link to donate to organizers for the Vice President Harris campaign in Pennsylvania. Because we got to make sure we're supporting them as much as possible. And until next time, I'll see you soon.